Okay, I'm here at Warrington Town Hall with leader of the council, Councillor Mundry, who's going to give a little bit of a Christmas message for Warrington. But first of all, Hans, I've got to say it's the anniversary of you coming to be leader of the Warrington Borough Council. It's been a tough year. Finances are still tough, but you have been putting out some PR about the debt coming down and the overspend coming down. So what's the latest situation?
Well, Gary, you are right. It is a tough time for lots of authorities, and we're certainly not immune to that. And one situation is we are going to have some tough decisions coming forward. But for the good news is that since becoming leader, like I said, just 12 months ago, we have changed with political leadership. We've changed our direction. And what we're doing now with our finances is reducing the debt at a steady pace, making sure we safeguard the future services for Warrington people, so it's measured. But we've reduced the debt by around about £500 million. We've looked at the new government initiative for councils to borrow for social housing to build. We in Warrington been doing that years in advance of this announcement, so we're sort of looking at to redesignate that funding to be calculated in the same way as a council that have an HRA account. That'll fetch it down by another £500 to £600 million. So by the end of March, beginning of April, the council would be, if they all things come into place, would be looking at £800 million loans. All councils borrow to do anything they want to do, and that's not unusual. With Warrington, I think when I looked at the books when I first took over leadership, it's the amount of borrowing we did to achieve the actual the revenue that was coming in, and it's a risk factor of that we need to look into. I tackled that straight away, worked at it, was given about 7 to 8 years from the Sifter report to fetch it down. We'll be somewhere around that margin within our first 18 months, so we really have got on with pace. But what we're trying to make sure is we're not open market for people to come and pick things up cheap from the council. We're making sure that we safeguard our assets to make sure we can sell them at the right price at the right time and delivering for the people of Warrington, and make sure that our revenue account is up and running. And where we are financially, we're in that situation. We are where we need to be, and we're on track, but well advanced to where we needed to be. So change of leadership, change of direction, change of fortunes for Warrington.
Okay, I mean, people will be looking at the financial situation, and particularly around Christmas, people are finding it tough for money. I mean, you've just recently announced increases for councillors. I won't say salaries because they're not salaries, yeah. Allowances. So some people will, I've seen asking the council to justify how you can increase allowances.
Well, with the allowances, I think what we had an independent body looking at Warrington's allowances, and historically, and even now, a lot lower than our neighbours. So we're trying to make sure we can actually have the quality of councillors to deliver the services. But why should we undervalue our councillors? We don't have our frontline staff or any of our staff working for less than what the going rate is for their pay and their wages. And then when it comes to councillors, we sort of undervalue them. Actually underpay them in a situation. It's a question of trying to fetch up slowly and fetch them into the same sort of revenue and level as other authorities around us, because we're about half what other councils get, I've been told of, depending which ones you look at. But most councils have to pay a lot more allowances than what Warrington's does, and it's not fair that we should treat our councillors in a disparate way compared to other councillors in the country.
Right, and with the cuts you're having to make to make these savings, what sort of cuts are you making, and how are they impacting on local services?
Well, that's what we're trying to make sure the cuts don't impact on local services. We're looking at possible voluntary redundancies. That's we are going into to look at that. We're going to rejig the way the structure of the council to make sure they don't impact on our frontline services. It'll be back around back staff issues and fast changes, but making sure that we can still deliver the service we need to. With some of the other services, it's a question of some decisions we need to make now to actually take some cuts. We may have to close some places, but it's only temporary. It's a question of closing them now and then to start build back better in the future. So now we need to make some decisions when times are tough, looking for a better revenue stream in the future. where we can actually start to build back and plan back better. So plan for the next 20 years rather than trying to keep putting plasters on, make do and mend, and then saying we're going to get another 1 or 2 years after some of our assets. Start changing it to make sure we can go, them assets are no longer there, but we can plans to say we can put something better in place which will last 20 years to 30 years and start building back Warrington.
Now, Hans, if you're selling some assets to help cut the deficits, how will that impact on the revenues which it brings in?
Well, it's funny way the way your finances work, because what we're doing is we're making sure we've got an exit strategy for every actually asset we own. So when we're actually realising that asset and selling it, because we've paid the debt off early, we get sort of an early settlement payment come back to the council, which we then can use over a 10-year period for revenue, which minimises any impact on our revenue. So we're still, up to now, we're still moving forward on that, and we're making sure that we're not being forced into sales and then come to actually open for selling off cheap. We're selling off at the right price, making sure that we safeguard the public purse for the people of Warrington, and we're also maintaining the revenue, but it's not by the sales. The sales we sell will pay off debt and bring it down, but then we get a dividend that comes back to the council, a type of dividend that comes back, which we then can use over a 10-year period to actually cover the revenue impact. So that then sort of things seem to be working for us at present.
So, Hans, what's your Christmas message to the residents of Warrington?
Well, first and foremost, I want to wish everyone a merry happy Christmas, and we'll do our utmost to make sure it's a prosperous new year for everybody, to make sure people can have money in their pockets to enjoy their lives in Warrington and enjoy the marvellous opportunity they get to actually visit Warrington Town Centre and other parts of Warrington, to make sure that they can have an enjoyable new year.
Okay, Hans, all the best.
Thank you very much, Gary.